Hey there, truth seekers, cryptid chasers, and fellow explorers of the unknown. Welcome back to another episode of Broadcasting Seeds, where we dig into the strange, the mysterious, and sometimes the downright mind-boggling realities that exist just beyond the veil. I'm your host, Bennett Tanton, and today we're diving headfirst into a mystery that has stumped scholars, cryptographers, and just about anyone with a curiosity for the weird for over 600 years, the Voynich Manuscript. Yep, this is one of those enigmas that keeps the conspiracy community awake at night, scribbling notes on chalkboards, connecting the dots like we're living in some beautiful mind scenario. For those who haven't heard of it, and hey, no judgment if you haven't, imagine a book so bizarre, so cryptic, that no one on this planet has been able to crack it. It's got strange, unrecognizable plants, zodiac symbols that look like they came out of a fever dream, and a language no one can read. Sounds like a solid Netflix plot, right? Except this isn't fiction. This book exists, it's real, and it's been driving the brightest minds nuts for centuries. But here's the kicker. What if it's not just an old, dusty medieval puzzle? What if the Voynich Manuscript holds secrets that tie into ancient knowledge, conspiracy theories, or even, dare I say, government cover-ups? What if this manuscript is a key, hidden in plain sight, to unlock something bigger than we ever imagined? Today, we're going deep. Real deep. Not just into the manuscript's weirdness, but into what it could mean for us, here and now. Could it be a cipher for something biblical? A roadmap to suppressed knowledge? Or is it just a big, old, medieval prank? I don't know about you, but I think the truth lies somewhere in the gray area. And as always, that gray area is where things get interesting. So buckle up, folks. This episode of Broadcasting Seeds is about to take us on a wild ride into one of the greatest mysteries of all time. Let's crack open the Voynich Manuscript and see where the breadcrumbs lead. All right, let's start at the beginning, because like all good mysteries, the Voynich Manuscript comes with an origin story as strange as the book itself. The manuscript takes its name from Wilfrid Voynich, a Polish book dealer who stumbled upon it in 1912. He found it in a trunk of rare books at the Villa Mondragone, an old Jesuit college near Rome. Now, if you're thinking, an old manuscript found in a European villa, probably a dusty relic of medieval life, you're only half right. This manuscript didn't just get forgotten in an attic. It stayed forgotten because no one could make heads or tails of it. Voynich was an astute guy, and like any good Indiana Jones type, he realized he had something special on his hands. A book filled with hundreds of pages of strange, undecipherable text, alongside illustrations that looked like someone mashed up a botany textbook, an astrological guide, and the doodles of a feverish medieval artist who'd seen one too many weird plants. He knew immediately that this thing wasn't normal. But it wasn't just its content that made the Voynich manuscript special. Scholars eventually carbon dated the parchment to the early 1400s, so we know it's at least 600 years old. But as to who wrote it and why, well, that's where the rabbit hole opens wide, and we all start to fall. No one has come forward to claim authorship. No records exist to say who commissioned it. The mystery is as much about who made the book as it is what the book says. There's speculation, of course. Some scholars suggest it could have been the work of a single person, possibly a monk or a scholar. Others think it was written by multiple people because of the variety of illustrations and script styles. Some even believe it might have been the brainchild of an entire secret society. And yes, it's hard not to go full Dan Brown on this one. I mean, secret societies, weird languages, cryptic diagrams. It practically begs for a conspiracy theory, right? But that's just the start. The real mystery begins when you crack open the cover. Now, remember, this is a manuscript from a time before computers, before modern science, and before anyone had even heard of cryptography. So if it is a code, it's a 15th century code, likely handwritten by a master of whatever dark art of secrecy they practiced back then. But here's the thing. Despite centuries of effort, no one, and I mean no one, has successfully cracked it. And that includes some of the brightest cryptographers in the world. People who cracked Nazi codes during W4. So let's take a moment here. A book written 600 years ago with illustrations that defy explanation, a language that's indecipherable, and, oh right, no clues as to why it exists. If your conspiracy sense isn't tingling yet, it should be. What we've got here is not just a puzzle. It's an invitation to question everything. What kind of world produced a book like this? Could it have been some sort of hidden knowledge passed down through secretive hands, designed to stay under the radar? Or is it the work of a single genius or madman, perhaps trying to preserve something he or she knew would be lost to time? Wilfred Voynich may have been the one to find it, but even he couldn't unlock its secrets. And that's where we step in, trying to make sense of the senseless, to bring light to the shadowy past. But don't worry, folks. We've only just begun to peel back the layers. So what's next? Well, we've got some strange symbols to decode, mysterious plants to identify, and a whole lot of history to cover. I promise, it gets weirder from here. Stick around as we dig deeper into what the Voynich Manuscript actually contains, or, what it might be hiding. Now that we've set the stage with the discovery of this enigmatic book, let's dive into the meat of the mystery. What exactly is the Voynich Manuscript saying? Spoiler alert, no one knows. Now, I know what you're thinking. Bennett, how is it possible that in the age of quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and whatever kind of crazy tech DARPA's cooking up in secret, we still haven't figured out a 600-year-old book? Great question, and one that a lot of cryptographers and linguists have been asking themselves for centuries. The text of the Voynich Manuscript is written in what we now call Voynichese, a script made up of characters that don't match any known language or alphabet. It doesn't look like Latin, Greek, or Hebrew. Nothing that makes any sense. Here's where it gets interesting. When people first got their hands on this book, naturally they assumed it was a cipher, a code waiting to be cracked. So over the years, some of the best code breakers from history, like those who cracked the Enigma machine in W, have taken a crack at the Voynich Manuscript. The CIA, the NSA, heck, even computer scientists using cutting-edge algorithms have all tried to unlock its secrets. And guess what? Nothing. Nada. Zilch. But wait, it gets even weirder. The text follows a recognizable pattern, like a real language. There are repeated words, sentence structures, and the sort of flow that makes it look like language. But without any Rosetta Stone, we're left scratching our heads. It doesn't match anything we know. Some researchers think this could be an unknown natural language, lost to time. Something like Linear A from ancient Crete, just a completely forgotten tongue from a lost civilization. Others think it's some sort of constructed language, like Elvish from Tolkien's world. Something someone invented with its own rules and grammar, but never spoken by any real people. And then, of course, there's the hoax theory. Some people believe that this is all an elaborate medieval prank, a massive troll job to mess with future generations. And honestly, I wouldn't rule it out. Imagine some medieval scribe sitting at his desk thinking, you know what would be hilarious? A book that no one will ever be able to read. Is that a stretch? Maybe. But the hoax theory has its merits. After all, if you wanted to impress a nobleman or scam someone into believing you had access to ancient mystical knowledge, whipping up a cryptic book like this would be a solid move. But here's where I think the hoax theory loses some steam. We're not just talking about some random scribblings here. The manuscript has over 200 pages, all filled with these intricate characters, strange symbols, and consistent patterns. It would have taken years, if not decades, to create this, and let's be honest, that's a lot of effort just to pull a fast one on someone. So just what if, this book is written in a language or code that we simply don't have the key for yet? Some have theorized that the manuscript might contain layers of encryption, where multiple ciphers are used one on top of another to hide its true meaning. Others think it could be based on a lost language or even a symbolic code that only initiates of some secret society could understand. And then there's the theory that always comes up in these kinds of cases: aliens. That's right, folks. There's a camp out there that believes the Voynich Manuscript was written by extraterrestrials, and that's why it doesn't resemble anything known on Earth. Sounds far-fetched? Sure. But is it possible? Well, the universe is a pretty big place, so I'll leave that one to your imagination. But one thing's for sure, the manuscript's text, whatever it is, holds some kind of meaning. Whether it's a cipher, a language, or an elaborate puzzle, the fact that no one has cracked it only makes it more tantalizing. Imagine the moment when, if ever, someone figures it out. What kind of secrets could this ancient book reveal? Hidden knowledge? A map to some forgotten treasure? Or maybe, just maybe, a glimpse into a world we never even knew existed? As we ponder that, let's not forget that the manuscript is more than just strange letters on a page. It's also filled with bizarre illustrations, which might hold clues to its meaning. So in the next section, we're going to dive headfirst into those images, plants, symbols, and, well, things that are hard to describe with any accuracy. Get ready, because this is where the mystery takes on a whole new level of weird. Folks, now that we've waded through the strange swamp of the manuscript's undecipherable text, let's dive into what might be even more mind-boggling: the illustrations. These aren't just your typical medieval drawings of saints or knights. No, what we've got here are images of plants that don't exist, astrology that seems to make sense to no one, and biological diagrams that look like they came from a parallel universe. Let's start with the botanical illustrations. because that's where a lot of people first get tripped up. The manuscript is filled with pages and pages of what appear to be plant drawings. Except, here's the thing. No one can identify these plants. There are no matches in the known plant world. No tulips, no roses, no oak trees, nothing that makes you go, ah, yes, I recognize that. Instead, what we have are plants that seem to come from an alien planet or some forgotten world. Some have features that are recognizable, a leaf here, a flower there, but the rest? Pure fantasy. Or is it? Now, some botanists and plant experts have tried to make sense of these drawings. They've speculated that maybe these are exaggerated representations of real plants, like a medieval artist drawing what they thought they saw, but with a heavy dose of imagination. Others believe that the plants might represent a lost species, flora that either went extinct or was part of a region we no longer have records of. And yes, of course, there's the camp that suggests these plants are symbolic, maybe part of some alchemical or mystical tradition. Think of it as a kind of medieval secret recipe book, where each plant stands in for an ingredient or a step in some hidden process. But it's not just plants that fill the pages of this strange book. No, the Voynich Manuscript goes way beyond botany. Flip a few more pages, and you find yourself staring at astrological diagrams. These include zodiac symbols like Aries, Taurus, and Sagittarius, which, at first glance, seem somewhat familiar. But here's where things take a turn. The zodiac wheels in the manuscript are surrounded by mysterious women bathing in what appear to be pools, or holding up stars, or just floating in space in ways that make no sense in medieval or modern astrology. Some scholars have suggested that these are representations of cosmological cycles, or even fertility symbols, while others think they could be tied to ancient religious rituals. And just when you think it can't get any weirder, it does. These astrological pages seem to imply a connection between the heavens and earthly life. Something that's not unusual for ancient manuscripts, sure. But the way it's illustrated makes it feel more like we're looking at the dream journal of a mystic, rather than any real scientific or religious document. These symbols and figures seem to point to something otherworldly, almost like they're trying to depict not just the stars, but some kind of higher knowledge, some lost universal truth that we no longer have access to. Now, let's talk about the biological illustrations, because this is where things get truly strange. Imagine dozens of naked women, tiny, not much bigger than stick figures, bathing in what look like connected pools of water. Some are walking through what appears to be tunnels. Some are being carried by what look like tubes or conduits. What is this? A medieval bathhouse? Some strange vision of the afterlife? These illustrations have baffled researchers for years. Some think it's a kind of medical text, showing something like an ancient theory of circulation or the body's fluids. Others have no idea and just shrug and say, well, it's weird. I mean, let's be real. This is the part of the manuscript that makes you question whether the person who wrote it was seeing things no one else could, or if they were just straight up messing with future generations. It feels like something that could be alchemical, or even esoteric in nature. Some have even suggested that these biological drawings are symbolic, representing spiritual journeys, birth, death, or some kind of transcendence. Honestly, at this point, your guess is as good as anyone's. But wait, there's more. Scattered throughout the manuscript are diagrams that look like cosmological maps. You've got circular diagrams that seem to depict celestial movements, perhaps the phases of the moon or the orbits of planets. But again, These diagrams don't align with any known scientific models from the time. They seem to hint at some knowledge we've either lost or never knew. Some have speculated that these could be maps of the universe, or even portals, doorways to other dimensions or realms. It's wild, I know, but if we're dealing with a manuscript this strange, you've got to be willing to entertain the impossible. So what do we make of all these strange images? Are they clues, symbols, a fevered imagination from some 15th century visionary? Or, and here's where I like to take things a step further, are these illustrations glimpses into a hidden knowledge, something only a few were ever meant to understand? What if the Voynich Manuscript is a manual for the initiate, a guide for those willing to see beyond the veil of normal life and into a reality that most people never experience? Whatever the case, these illustrations only deepen the mystery. They add layers to the puzzle. And if you ask me, they might be the key to unlocking the manuscript's secrets. The question is, will we ever understand what they're trying to tell us? So far, we've covered the origins and the strange text. Now we've taken a look at the bizarre illustrations. But what's next? Well, my friends, we're not done yet. In the next section, we're going to talk about the modern efforts to crack this mystery wide open. Cryptography, AI, and some of the brightest minds in the world have all tried and failed to make sense of the Voynich Manuscript. So stick around because things are about to get even crazier. So we've gone through the origins, the text, and the bizarre illustrations, but now it's time to fast forward to the modern era. You'd think that after centuries of trying to figure out this cryptic manuscript, with all the advancements in technology, someone would have cracked the code by now, right? Wrong. This thing continues to stump some of the brightest minds on the planet, and the deeper we dig, the more confusing it gets. So, let's talk about how people have tried to decipher this book, starting with cryptography. Now, cryptography is the science of coding and decoding information, like writing messages in secret, only readable by the intended recipient. And let me tell you, the Voynich Manuscript is like the holy grail for cryptographers. As soon as this thing hit the public radar, everyone from casual code breakers to government agencies started trying to make sense of it. During World War II, some of the same people who cracked Nazi Germany's Enigma machine, one of the most complex codes in history, turned their attention to the Voynich Manuscript. These were the same folks who unraveled codes that had the power to change the course of the war, and yet nothing, not a single breakthrough. That's mind-blowing, right? These were people who cracked Nazi codes and saved lives with their work, and yet this weird little manuscript from the 15th century had them pulling their hair out. Fast forward to the 21st century, and you'd think modern tech would fare better. Enter artificial intelligence, our shiny new toy in the world of technology. AI has been making strides in everything from healthcare to finance, so why not throw it at the Voynich Manuscript and see if we can crack it? Well, people did exactly that. Computer scientists from places like the University of Alberta and even top cryptography think tanks around the world have used AI systems to analyze the text. These systems have the ability to process and test language patterns, cipher theories, and statistical data in ways that would take a human lifetime to accomplish. But here's where things get wild. In 2019, an AI system made a little bit of headway. The algorithm suggested that the text could be based on Hebrew, using a substitution cipher where each symbol corresponds to a letter. This system translated the first few words into something resembling a coherent phrase in Hebrew, roughly meaning, "She made recommendations to the priest, man of the house, and me, and people." Interesting, right? But here's the thing, it still doesn't make sense in the broader context of the manuscript, and no one has been able to translate the rest of the text using that same method. So, is it a breakthrough? Maybe. But we're still miles away from any definitive answer. Now, AI isn't the only modern tool that's been applied to the Voynich manuscript. Cryptographers have used frequency analysis, a method of studying the frequency of certain symbols or words to try to decipher a pattern. The problem is the Voynich text doesn't follow the frequency patterns of any known language. The way the symbols repeat and are structured doesn't match any natural language we know of, Latin, Greek, Hebrew, or otherwise. This leads some to believe that the text is either a complete invention, a made-up language, or, more tantalizingly, that it's a polyglot cipher, a code that uses multiple languages or even multiple layers of encryption. And if that's the case, well, good luck cracking that anytime soon. Another avenue people have explored is that the text is glossolalia, a term for a kind of speaking in tongues. You see, throughout history, there have been instances of people writing or speaking in what seem to be languages, but aren't real. They're spontaneous and created in the moment, often associated with religious or mystical experiences. Some believe the Voynich manuscript might be the written equivalent of that. Someone in a trance, writing symbols that they believed had meaning, but which don't correspond to any real language. But here's the rub. Despite all of these high-tech efforts, all the computational power and brilliant minds that have gone into it, the Voynich manuscript remains unsolved. The AI and cryptography breakthroughs are exciting, no doubt, but they've barely scratched the surface of what this book really is. We're still left with more questions than answers. Here's a question to think about, like, why can't we crack this? Is it because the language is too obscure? Are we missing some key piece of the puzzle, like a cipher key hidden somewhere else? Or, and this is where it gets really conspiratorial, are there forces out there that don't want us to solve it? Yeah, I said it. What if the Voynich manuscript contains knowledge that's been deliberately hidden? What if the book is designed to be unreadable for most, with its secrets only accessible to those in the know, like an initiation test for some ancient secret society? I mean, think about it. For centuries, scholars, codebreakers, even the CIA have tried and failed to make sense of this thing. What if that's exactly the point? What if the manuscript is a piece of occult knowledge, something that was never meant for the masses? The more you consider that possibility, the more the hairs on the back of your neck start to stand up, right? So, here's where we're at. Modern science has given us some tantalizing leads, but ultimately, the Voynich manuscript is still an unsolved riddle. And maybe that's the way it's meant to be, at least for now. But we're not done yet. In the next section, we're going to take a step back and explore the cultural impact of the Voynich manuscript. How has this mysterious book influenced pop culture, conspiracy theories, and the broader quest for hidden knowledge? Trust me, This next part is where things get even more fun. All right, truth seekers, buckle up, because now we're diving into one of my favorite parts. How the Voynich Manuscript has permeated pop culture, fueled conspiracy theories, and sparked a never-ending quest for hidden knowledge. This is where the lines blur between history, speculation, and our collective fascination with the unknown. So, let's start with the obvious. This isn't just an obscure medieval manuscript that only scholars care about. No, the Voynich Manuscript has transcended academia and worked its way into the zeitgeist of cryptids, conspiracy, and everything paranormal. The very fact that it remains unsolved is like catnip to anyone who loves a good mystery, especially those of us who believe that the world holds far more than meets the eye. If you've ever been down a YouTube rabbit hole on secret societies, ancient knowledge, or alien technology, chances are you've come across the Voynich Manuscript at some point. First up, pop culture. This mysterious book has made cameos in everything from TV shows to novels. In the world of fiction, it's practically a trope at this point. You've got authors and screenwriters using the manuscript as the mysterious text that holds the key to some ancient or supernatural event. Shows like Warehouse 13 or The X-Files love to drop references to it. And in books, it often plays the role of the MacGuffin, a plot device that drives the action forward. Heck, even video games like Assassin's Creed have flirted with the idea of the Voynich Manuscript holding hidden knowledge from the distant past. Why? Because it's the ultimate unsolved puzzle. It's got that forbidden knowledge vibe that writers and storytellers can't resist. And let's be honest, who can blame them? The Voynich Manuscript taps into a primal part of our imagination. It represents the idea that there's still something out there that we don't understand. Something bigger than us. Hidden away, just waiting to be uncovered. And as humans, we've got this natural instinct to figure things out, to unravel mysteries, and to believe that maybe, just maybe, there's something out there that could change the way we see the world. But here's where things get really interesting. Beyond the world of entertainment, the Voynich Manuscript has taken on a life of its own in the conspiracy community. You see, when you have a document this strange, this indecipherable, and this mysterious, people are naturally going to speculate. And let's just say some of those speculations get wild. One of the more popular theories floating around is that the Voynich Manuscript is part of an ancient secret society, like the Freemasons or the Rosicrucians, who possessed knowledge that has been deliberately hidden from the public. According to this theory, the manuscript isn't meant for everyone. It's a manual, a guide for initiates into the deeper mysteries of the universe. Maybe it's a book of alchemy, or perhaps it contains lost esoteric knowledge that only the chosen few are allowed to access. After all, secret societies have been tied to hidden knowledge for centuries. Why wouldn't they have a hand in something as cryptic as the Voynich Manuscript? But let's crank it up another notch. Some people believe the manuscript was written by extraterrestrials, or is a manual given to ancient humans by aliens. Now, before you roll your eyes, let's think about this for a second. If you were an advanced extraterrestrial species trying to communicate with humans, wouldn't it make sense to encode your messages in a way that could only be understood once humanity reached a certain level of intelligence? The strange plants, the unrecognizable language, the cosmological diagrams. Some conspiracy theorists say these are clues to the origins of our species, or perhaps a guidebook for humanity's future evolution. Sure, it sounds out there, but hey, this is the Voynich Manuscript we're talking about. Nothing's off the table. But it doesn't stop with aliens or secret societies. The Voynich Manuscript has even been tied to biblical prophecy in some circles. Some believe that the book contains references to the end times, hidden within its pages, awaiting someone who can crack the code and reveal what's to come. This idea plays into the broader belief that certain ancient texts were designed to reveal themselves only when humanity was ready, like the Book of Revelation for the Apocalypse, or the Dead Sea Scrolls for our spiritual awakening. It's not hard to imagine the Voynich Manuscript fitting into that narrative for those who believe in the prophetic significance of ancient texts. And let's not forget the alchemical theories. There are plenty of people who think the Voynich Manuscript is a manual for alchemy, the ancient practice of turning base metals into gold and unlocking immortality. The weird plants, the biological diagrams, maybe these are the secret ingredients and steps needed to create the philosopher's stone or the elixir of life. After all, alchemy was a big deal back in the day, and some of the most influential figures in history dabbled in it. The manuscript could be a lost alchemical recipe book, one that only a few true alchemists would understand. Now, whether or not you buy into any of these theories, one thing's for sure: the Voynich Manuscript has become a symbol of hidden knowledge. It represents the idea that there are still mysteries in this world, still things we don't understand. And maybe that's what keeps us going. It's that eternal quest for knowledge, that drive to uncover the unknown that keeps people coming back to the Voynich Manuscript again and again. But here's the question I'll leave you with. Are we meant to solve the Voynich Manuscript? Or is it possible that some mysteries are meant to stay unsolved? In a world where we have so much information at our fingertips, the Voynich Manuscript remains a rare exception, a puzzle that resists easy answers, a reminder that there are still secrets waiting to be discovered. Maybe the manuscript isn't just a key to the past. Maybe it's a reminder to keep questioning, keep searching, and to never settle for easy explanations. So there you have it, folks. We've explored the origins, the text, the illustrations, the modern efforts to decipher it, and its place in pop culture and conspiracy theory. And even after all that, the Voynich Manuscript remains an unsolved mystery. But isn't that what makes it so compelling? Before we wrap up, though, I've got one more thing for you. In the next and final part of the show, we'll talk about why this manuscript matters to us today. How does a 600-year-old book impact our world, our society, and our quest for truth? Stick around. You won't want to miss this. So, after all this, you might be asking yourself, why does the Voynich Manuscript matter? Why should we care about a 600-year-old book that no one can read, full of weird plants, astrological symbols, and strange little drawings? Well, here's the thing. The Voynich Manuscript isn't just about the past. It's about us, right now, today. It's about the fact that there are still mysteries in this world that haven't been solved. In a time when we can Google the answer to just about anything, the fact that something so simple like a book can remain hidden from our understanding challenges us. It reminds us that we don't know everything, and maybe, just maybe, we're not meant to. And that's where the magic lies, folks. In a world of constant information, where every answer feels like it's just a click away, the Voynich Manuscript gives us a reason to keep asking questions. It tells us that there are still puzzles out there waiting to be cracked, still knowledge to be found, and still corners of our history, and maybe even our future, that are shrouded in mystery. Whether it's a cipher, a hoax, a piece of lost knowledge, or something much, much weirder, the Voynich Manuscript taps into our deepest instincts as humans. The desire to learn, to explore, and to understand. Maybe we'll never know what the manuscript says. Or maybe one day, someone will figure it out, and it'll change everything we thought we knew. But until then, the Voynich Manuscript remains a symbol of the unknown. And it's a symbol we need now more than ever. So, what do you think? Are we ever going to solve this ancient puzzle? Or is it going to stay one of history's most enduring mysteries? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Before I sign off, I want to remind you, if you enjoyed today's dive into the strange and the unexplained, don't forget to like, share, and review the podcast. It helps us reach more people who are just as fascinated by the world's weird and wonderful mysteries as you are. And hey, if you know someone who's into conspiracy theories, cryptids, or just has a taste for the strange, send this episode their way. Let's keep planting those seeds of curiosity and wonder. This has been Broadcasting Seeds, and I'm your host, Bennett Tanton. Until next time, keep questioning, keep searching, and never stop wondering what's out there, just waiting to be discovered.
Bad thoughts that make my mind scared, hold me hostage and they don't fight fair. Who gon' pray for me and wipe all my tears? Who gon' save me if you not right here? Move this darkness and make my sight clear. Take me away cause I don't like here. Ghosts of my past, they fill in the night air. Wake me up, I'm trapped in my nightmares. Wake me up, I'm trapped in my nightmares. Drowning, I'm off the deep end. Apparitions of all my demons. All my thoughts are committing treason. All alone, who gon' hear me screaming? Manifestations of my fears. Regrets that stretched out for light years. Can almost touch the light, homie, it's right there. Body free but trapped in my nightmares. Wake me up, don't let me drown. All the lights are fading